What if I told you that the voice in your head, the one that never seems to shut up, the one you worry might not be normal, isn't actually you? You've probably tried arguing with it or forcing it to be quiet, and you already know that never works. You've tried to reason with your anxiety or wrestle your inner critic into submission, and you've probably felt totally exhausted by it all, wondering if this internal battle is just something you have to put up with. Well, ancient Buddhist wisdom suggests there's a completely different way to approach this. It teaches that your inner dialogue isn't a sign that you're broken. Instead, it's a powerful tool that you can learn to master. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. First, let's get one thing straight. That constant inner chatter is completely normal. In fact, Buddhism has had a name for it for centuries, the monkey mind. It's the perfect metaphor for that restless, scattered feeling where your mind just jumps from one thought to the next, like a monkey swinging from branch to branch. 1 second, it's a planner, mapping out your to-do list for the next 5 years. The next, it's a worrier, replaying an awkward conversation from last week on a loop. And then, of course, there's the most famous voice of all, the inner critic. This is the one that tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, or that you've already messed something up. It's the voice that's constantly comparing you to other people and always finding you lacking. Sound familiar? This inner monologue is just part of being human. We all have this little committee of voices in our heads, and each one has its own opinion. The real problem isn't that the monkey mind exists, and the reason we feel so much anxiety and self-doubt is that we believe we are the monkey. We mistake all that chatter for our true selves. We think that relentless, critical, anxious voice is who we really are. When we identify with it, we feel trapped. The constant noise feels overwhelming, and the negative self-talk starts to cause genuine suffering. But Buddhism offers a huge shift in perspective. It tells us that you are not the chatter. You are the one who hears the chatter. And that simple distinction is the first step to freedom. So if that voice isn't you, what is it? From a Buddhist perspective, that inner narrator is mostly the product of what we call the ego. Now, in the West, we usually think of ego as being arrogant or full of yourself. But in Buddhism, the idea is more subtle. The ego isn't some solid thing you need to destroy. It's more like a habit. It's the mind's constant impulse to build up a sense of a separate, solid me. It's the part of us that clings to an identity, a story about who we are. This is where we get to one of the deepest and most misunderstood teachings in Buddhism, anatta, or not self. Anatta doesn't mean you don't exist. You're real. Your experiences are real. What it means is that there is no permanent, unchanging, independent self at the very center of your being. Think about it like this. What you call you is really just an ever-changing combination of 5 things: your body, your feelings, your perceptions, your thoughts, and your consciousness. These are always in flux. Your body is different than it was 7 years ago. Your feelings change from one moment to the next. Your thoughts are just like clouds passing in the sky. So where, in all of that constant change, is a permanent you? The ego is the storyteller that looks at this flowing river of experience and tries to build a dam. It says, "This is me, this is mine." It builds a story of a fixed self. I'm an anxious person, or I'm a successful person, or I'm a failure. This constructed self, this ego, is the source of that inner monologue. It's chattering all the time to prove it exists, to defend its story. Our suffering comes from desperately trying to protect this fictional character we've created. We fight for it, we get hurt when our story is challenged, and we feel anxious when we feel like we're losing control. The goal of Buddhism isn't to kill the ego. That's just another fight. It's about seeing the ego for what it is, an illusion. It's about learning to watch the storyteller without getting lost in the story. If this idea of observing your thoughts instead of being swept away by them is clicking for you, take a second to subscribe to this channel. We explore ancient wisdom like this every week to help you find more peace in your modern life. So, how do we actually start to untangle ourselves from this inner chatter? How do we learn to watch the storyteller? The answer is through the practice of mindfulness and awareness. Buddhism, isn't about going to war with your thoughts or trying to force your mind to be silent. That's a battle you'll never win. In fact, trying to push thoughts away usually just gives them more power. The real path is one of observation. It's about changing your relationship with your inner voice. This is done mainly through meditation. Two types are really helpful here. One is samatha, or concentration meditation, which helps settle the mind and quiet the noise so you can find some mental stillness. The other is vipassana, or insight meditation. Here, the goal isn't to block out the inner chatter, but to use it as the very thing you pay attention to. You learn to observe your thoughts as they pop up, hang around for a bit, and then fade away, all without judging them or getting attached to them. Let's try a very simple version of this right now. You don't need to sit in a special way or even close your eyes. For the next 30 seconds, just notice what's happening in your mind. Just notice the thoughts appearing. Maybe it's a judgment about this video. Maybe you're planning what's for dinner. Maybe a memory just surfaced. Don't try to stop them. Don't argue with them. Just notice them. See them as mental events, like sounds you might hear in the room around you. They're just passing through. That's the heart of the practice. You're learning to be an impartial witness. You're stepping out of the stream of thoughts and just sitting on the riverbank, watching it all flow by. With practice, you start to see things more clearly. You can tell which thoughts are helpful, the ones that lead to peace and kindness, and which ones are unhelpful, the ones rooted in anger or fear that just lead to more suffering. Your inner talk can actually start to change. Instead of being run by an inner critic, you can intentionally nurture an inner coach, a voice of compassion and wisdom. You can start using your inner dialogue as a tool to remind yourself to be present and to be kind to yourself. This journey from being a slave to the monkey mind to becoming its compassionate master is a skill. It takes practice and a lot of patience with yourself. There's a wonderful Zen story that gets this across perfectly. A young monk went to his master and said, "Master, my mind is always wandering. I can't control it. What should I do?" The master just replied, "Who is it that's being dragged around by this mind?" That one question holds the entire teaching. When you shift your identity from the thought itself to the awareness of the thought, you find your power. You realize you are the sky, not the clouds. The clouds, your thoughts and emotions, can be dark and stormy or light and fluffy, but the vast, open sky of your awareness is always there, untouched. The goal isn't to have a perfectly empty mind. That's a huge misconception. The goal is to have a free mind, a mind that's no longer at war with itself, a mind where the inner voice isn't a tyrant, but maybe a friend, or even just background noise you can choose to tune into or ignore. This isn't about becoming some perfect, emotionless robot. It's about becoming a whole, compassionate human who is no longer fooled by the tricks of their own mind. So, is it normal to talk to yourself? Absolutely. That voice in your head is a natural part of being human. But the incredible freedom Buddhism offers is in realizing that you are not that voice. It's the ego, a made-up story, chattering away to keep itself going. By learning to watch this voice with mindful awareness, you take away its power. You stop identifying with it, and when you do, you discover the quiet, spacious awareness that was there the whole time. You start moving from a life of inner conflict to a life of inner freedom. What does your inner voice usually talk about? Is it a critic, a planner, or something else? Share it in the comments below. It's a powerful step to just notice and name what's going on in there. Thank you so much for watching.